Graham Bretherick was a pastor for 35 years and a psychologist for 30 years, so we know he has a heart for people. He's the founder and president of Run Free Ministries, which is dedicated to restoring broken people back to wholeness. Graham was with us back in February, and he caused quite a stir with his book, Healing Life's Hurts. Make Your Anger Work for You. So we decided to have him back to unpack again the positive aspects of anger and the power of forgiveness. Graham, welcome back to Full Circle.
We're all going to be angry at you.
Because you caused quite a stir.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I thought we'd maybe deal with insecurity, because it makes us bevy of beauty, so I'm feeling
well, there you
I
go.
say hey to my wife, Sherry, you know, I'm okay, Sherry, I'm okay.
So Sherry's back home in Lethbridge, Alberta?
Yeah.
Well, we're glad that you could hop across the country and spend some time with us. Now, first, I think we need to start by defining anger, because you say right out in your book, you need to make anger your friend, but what do you mean by anger?
Well, my definition of anger came out of a study of the word anger in Scripture. And the more I looked at it, I thought, we define anger by its expression, which is primarily described in terms of rage. So someone rages, called active aggression, we go, oh, there's an angry person. But in actual fact, the reality is, the Bible describes it, I need this, do I? The Bible describes it as being, the phrase that I looked up and kept seeing again was the Lord burned with anger, and Moses burned with anger, and David burned with anger, and Saul burned with anger. And I thought, what does that mean? And so when you look it up, basically burning has to do with releasing energy in the form of heat and light. So suddenly I wake to the idea that maybe the definition of anger is energy, which is good, and it's used for good if we use it in a constructive way. It can be used for bad in a destructive way. But anger itself is not bad. I don't even think it's neutral. I don't think it's an emotion. I think it's primarily energy. It gives me the energy or the courage to deal with things I wouldn't otherwise deal with.
And so it's the expression of anger that we need to focus on.
Yeah. Well,
not an emotion.
But not an emotion?
That's quite a concept, Grace.
it has a lot of emotional expression.
Oh, the
Right?
expression.
It has a lot of emotional expression. But you see, it can be expressed not actively, but passively.
So you would say,
Okay.
I feel what?
Like, you can say, I feel angry, that's fine. But when you look at the actual definition of what it is, it's an energy that enables me to do something positive, or I can use it in a destructive way. It's like dynamite. It's like I have a stick of dynamite, and I can take this dynamite and I can use it to blow up buildings in a wrong way, or I can use it to build a bridge. Right?
So then is anger a choice to be angry? Or
There's always choice involved, Melinda. Yes, always.
Okay, but you're saying we can choose the expression good or bad.
Yes, yes.
And what would be a good expression of anger?
Well, actually, if you want an interesting study, look at the anger of Jesus, which we call righteous indignation, because we don't know what to do with Jesus getting angry. But righteous indignation is the same thing as anger. And he used his anger not just for the Pharisees. Sometimes he was angry at his disciples. He didn't demean them. He didn't put them down, but he challenged them. You know, and he would sometimes say, you little faith men, you know, literally in the Greek, what's the matter with you? Don't you get this? You know, don't you see this? And so that, and of course, we struggle with the anger of God in the Old Testament. We think, well, God's a God of anger in the Old Testament, God of love in the New Testament. Nah, read the book of Revelation, you'll see a lot of anger there. And you understand that he is a God of love and anger, and his anger and love both come out of holiness.
Now, Graham, one of the things you talked about in your book was that anger a lot of the time expresses itself in passive aggressiveness.
Yes.
And you mentioned things like procrastination and other things like that I never thought were like derived from someone being angry and then expressing that through their passive aggressiveness, as opposed to just expressing the fact that they're angry at you, or you know,
Gossip, overspending.
Yeah.
These were all tied to anger.
And even depression you had mentioned as well.
Oh, now that's a little
something
different category, but that's actually when you turn anger in on yourself. But that's not passive aggressive. But the passive aggressive has to do with I don't express my anger in a rage form, an active form. I simply I pull the rug out from under you, basically. Gossip, slander, for example. I don't like you, but I'm afraid to tell you that, so I tell Moira what I think of you, Bridget, and I've assassinated your character and got back at you. That's my anger. And the church, unfortunately, and the world is full of that kind of thing. Or procrastination, as an example. I really don't want to do this, so I put it off. I'm late. You know, no one's going to tell me when I have to be there on time.
But where does anger, is it mostly anger comes from when something is done to us, where we, you know, feel off, or we feel attacked, or we've been put down or abused, or the victim? Like, because, you know, you're saying these things so that when we have anger, we do passive aggressiveness, we we push it down, it's unresolved, and then it manifests in obviously unhealthy ways.
Right.
But this is done by people, like anger is caused by people who have done something wrong to us.
Right. Anger is a result of hurts. All hurt is danger, and danger will produce anger, and I believe that's the way God has made us. In our psyche, if you want, in our emotions, in our soul. He's made us that way, because otherwise we're victims.
So how do we get a grip on this?
Yeah, that's
so that we're not doing the bad things like
Well, there are two different
overspending
things
and
where you have to
procrastination.
do anger management for the right kinds of things, where we manage anger appropriately and make decisions. But what happens is we accumulate a lot of anger over a long period of time. And I just call that stored, buried anger. It's repressed anger. Yeah. We don't even know we're doing it consciously.
And
we
women
just
are
push it
notorious
down.
for that.
Oh, just as much men, though.
Yeah. Oh, I know,
Yeah. But yes, that's true.
And how do we teach our children that it's okay to be angry? Because I know, in childhood, they have eruptions and they get mad, and so you're always saying, oh, well, calm down and
Don't be angry.
Yeah, don't hit your sister and that kind of thing.
Well,
but how do we, it's a fine line, isn't it?
Well, if you have two children, the one child takes the toy from the others, etc., the child reacts in anger naturally. That was my toy. So now if he hits, that's a wrong expression of anger. But if you say, it's not the anger that's wrong, because it's the natural response of, you took my toy and that wasn't fair. So then you have to teach them how to deal with that. All right? No, ask them for back end say, and if that doesn't work, then come to mommy and let mommy settle it, because you're dealing with siblings, and so you have to kind of teach them those things. But we ought to teach how to deal with anger.
So help them recognize that they are angry, and it's okay to be angry, but then help them recognize the proper outlet for the anger.
Yeah. I think a lot of what happens with anger, as with fear, as with none of these things, we don't like them. We don't know how to deal with them. They become our, and so repression is an unconscious process. We don't even know we're doing it.
That's very interesting how you delineated that. Repression and suppression.
Yes.
Suppression is conscious.
Yeah.
We know we're putting it away.
Yeah.
Repression, we could be
Yeah, I
carrying
didn't
stuff for
realize.
years.
Because that's the way we've done it for years.
Is it because we don't want to deal with the issues? I mean, is that really?
Because we're taught that anger is bad.